like birds of a feather. I won't tell no lie. All of the people around us, they say, can they be that close? Just let me state for the record, we're giving love in a family dose. We are family. Hey, I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. Sing it to me. We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. Living life is fun, and we've just begun to get our share of this world's delight. High hopes we have for the future and our goals in sight. We don't get depressed. Here's what we call our golden rule. Have faith in you and the things you do. You won't go wrong. Oh no, this is our family jewel. We are family. Sing it to me. I got all my sisters with me. Sing it to me. We are family. I can hear you, y'all. Get up, everybody, and sing. We have faith in you and the things you do. Hey, I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, y'all. Get up, everybody, and sing.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa George, and I'm the office manager for the New York State Senator James Sanders Jr. I'd like to say thank you for joining us today. Senator Sanders will be hosting a State of the District as it relates to the State of NYCHA post the COVID-19 pandemic. We have NYCHA leaders from all over the 10th senatorial district that Senator Sanders represents. I see we have some of our panelists still trying to sign in, but I will go ahead and get started by introducing Senator Sanders so he can give some opening remarks. And then by that time, I'll go into introducing the panelists that will be representing each development. Senator?
Pleasure. Thank you kindly, Ms. George, for that. I appreciate. Usually in a state of the district, the senator or the elected official comes before you and they speak of what's going on and what's happening in their district. And there's some beauty in that. There are things that we need to learn and know about that. But I want to do it a little different. I believe that we all live here and we are experts on it. And I believe that nobody is a bigger expert on NYCHA than NYCHA. And we're going to hear from the leaders of NYCHA, and we're going to hear from my friend and yours, Brian Honan. And Brian, that's an interesting beard. I've been growing mine for the last 20 years. I think it's coming out just right. Don't you agree? Well, one day. So we'll hear from folk. And my friends, I'm more interested in collegial in the sense of, I'm more interested in how do we build something. Now we're going to discover that some things are right and some things are wrong, but I'm more interested in how do we correct them? How do we build them? Because I'm not simply interested in making noise or whatever, getting my name in lights. I'm far more interested in how do we make it happen so that the people of Ramos, 41st Street, South Jamaica, etc., would do well. And I believe that we're going to have our council member join us, the chair of the Committee on Public Housing, which I'm very excited about. I don't see her listed yet. I'm not sure if she was here. Maybe I should put the participant. Yeah. So when she does come, we'll deal with there. So why don't you introduce everybody, and then we'll see who's here and we'll start, because I don't believe in punishing people for being on time. Miss George, would you be kind enough?
Okay, so I'll go ahead and you want me to I can introduce who's here now?
No, introduce
With
everybody.
everyone? Okay, so New York City Council member Alika Aubrey Samuel, she's the chairperson of the Committee of Public Housing. We have Belinda Davis, she's the president of the Tenant Association for Hamel Houses. Eugenia Gibson, president, Beach 41st Street Houses. Doris McLaughlin, president, Ocean Side Resident Association. Maggie Lawkins, president, Redfern Resident Council. LaWanda Johnson Gainey, president, Carlton Manor. Manny Martinez, president, South Jamaica Houses. Visel Smith, president, Ocean Bay Wavecrest. A.U. Hogan, president, Baisley Park Houses. Brian Holden, vice president of Intergovernmental Relations for NYCHA. Those will be our panelists today.
I like it. So why don't we begin with Miss Gibson, who was kind enough to get here early enough and put her cigarettes away for the moment. I saw you. And I really hope that we keep you around, because you're much too beautiful person. Come on now. But all right, one argument at a time. Here's what I'm hoping, Miss Gibson, if you're kind enough to say exactly what is the state of Beach 41st Street? What is the physical condition? What's the spirit of the people? What's going on? Because later in the conversation, we're going to speak of how to make it better, how the NYCHA can make it better, and how can I make it better. But first, I'm just trying to get, what is the spirit? How is Beach 41st Street happening? I know that, we've lost several leaders over there, and that was heartbreaking, but I'm glad that you're here. And I'll stop and let you hold the conversation as you see fit. Take around 3 to 5 minutes on that one.
Okay. Well, Beach 41st Street, we are running pretty okay over here. The spirit of the people going through COVID, this pandemic, really has people, especially, really scared. They're scared to come out. My elderly, my seniors are scared to come out. The upkeep of the buildings, not so clean. We had the vendors that were coming that were spraying down, the elevators, the mailboxes, and places where people normally go to every day. I don't know what's going on with that, because I haven't seen them on a regular basis like they used to come. We have a few issues going on here. Like I say, the upkeep of some of the buildings. We do have extra workers here, but some of the buildings are really dirty. And the residents here has a big complaint about that, the upkeep of the buildings, the garbage, our elevators. Our elevators are constantly broke every day. I can especially speak about 438. If it's not every day, it's every other day. We have the repair guys and repairing the elevators. We make the calls to 707. They come, they shut the elevators down. And we have a lot of elderly seniors living in the buildings. It's hard for them to get upstairs to their apartments. Okay. I have a gentleman that lives in the building that's in a wheelchair. Sometimes he's stuck outside until 11, 12 o'clock at night before he can get back upstairs. We're trying to I'm trying to do the best that I can here with the seniors, with everyone. I give out a lot of PPE supplies, masks, sanitizer, things of that nature, keeping, the community going. I also do the pantry here every Monday. That's going well with them here because again, they're scared to come out, go to the supermarket. So I go to, every Monday, I go to the seniors and give them fresh vegetables and fruits and things like that. But again, as far as the upkeep of the buildings, we can do much better. NYCHA could do much better with that. Much, much, much better.
Okay, we will come back to y'all. Hey, what's his name?
His name is Sharif. Hey
there, brother Sharif. Good to see you too.
I'm just waking up. Okay.
Well, it's good to see. I mean, after all is said and done, this is why we do what we do. So he is part of us. So he's not an interruption. He is why we do what we do. I see that we have been joined by the chair of the Committee on Public Housing, my councilwoman, Alika Humphrey Samuel, and I give her a choice. I would be delighted to hear her speak now with an opening, and as we hear from other people. Madam Alika, what's your pleasure?
Nice. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Hey, Senator.
Hey, I don't want to say how nice your hair looks now. You look, but I'll be good. I'll be good, or as good as I can get.
And I apologize on jumping on late. I was just doing a census event.
There you go.
And I just had on my baseball cap with that, that face shield that everyone wears with the mask. Yes. So I do apologize. There's just so many things that's going on right now in our communities, and I know, and the census is a huge one. In my district alone, I'm at the bottom, within the bottom 5 of completion. So, every hour, every opportunity we can get to go out there and spread the word. That's what we're doing. So, I don't even know where to start, right? There's just so much happening. I guess I can just first start off by just saying that I'm a child of NYCHA, born and raised in Marcus Garvey houses in Brownsville. And everything I know, I think the reason why I'm so passionate about the work that I do is because that's all I know. I grew up in NYCHA. Clearly, my mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, we moved into NYCHA in the late 50s and 60s, and both sides of my family. My mother and father met in Farragut houses when my family had to move to Farragut when they was developing Prospect Plaza. So my world to this day is going to visit my family members that live in NYCHA. That's what it is. And the reason why my mother moved out of NYCHA is because she applied for one of those affordable housing lotteries. Wow. And we moved 4 blocks down the street. And I remember us moving into our new apartment with shopping carts. We didn't even have a moving van, right? We literally moved down the block with shopping carts.
Yes, I know about
that. So I just say that just so people can know that, I don't live in NYCHA right now, this very day, but clearly I can identify because it's just who I am. And it made me the woman that my experiences growing up in public housing made me the woman that I am today. And I tell people I'm not an exception. I am an example of what comes out of public housing. It's a whole lot of amazing people. So I just wanted to just say that. And right now is, we coming out of a pandemic, right? And people are talking about a second wave. And the studies and all the reports have already showed that when you look at the rates of COVID infections, there was a higher rate in NYCHA residents and in the community surrounding NYCHA developments. So that's a conversation. But then there's also a conversation around the police presence, the debate as to whether you want to see more police or you want to defund the police. That's a strong conversation around NYCHA developments. Then we can also have a conversation about the fact that NYCHA right now is under a federal monitor, an agreement that was signed. And, there's supposed to be plans and action plans around heat and mold and lead and pests and everything else, right? But what's happening with that because of the pandemic and the fact that there were so many needs prior to the state of America and the state of New York right now. So what happens as we move forward with an increase in need and a decrease in even more funding? And we see that the chair of NYCHA put out a vision around, what to do with the 174,000 total units, 110,000 that remains after the conversation around RAD impact that was put out before with NYCHA 2.0. So there's so many different conversations that we can have, but I think the most important thing is what's next? Where do we go from here? What is the plan? Everyone has a plan. The chair has a vision. The mayor has a vision. The powers that be within the administration has a vision. But what is the vision and the plan for NYCHA residents? And is that vision captured in all these other plans that we hear about every single day? And so my role and my purpose in the city council is to make sure that the voice, it may sound simple, but to make sure that the voices of the people are heard. And I capture that in all of my oversight hearings, but not just that they are part of the actual vision and planning of the future of public housing in this city and in this state. And so I'll stop there because there's so much to unpack even with that opening because of where we are in the conversation related to what NYCHA plans to do with its housing stock. So it's a conversation. I know we're gonna be here for a couple of hours, so I'm here.
Well, one of the reasons I like and respect you so much, Madam Chair, is because of your NYCHA background. Now, you may or may not know that I was born in the Hamels houses. I was born in NYCHA. No, I was born in the Hamels houses. I was not born in a hospital. No midwife, just my mother and I. But no man or woman slapped me. My mother made up for it, but that's one story at a time. One story at a time. Now, I'm doing something so unusual, my council member. You stated the district, you usually get up there and you're telling people how the district is. I'm doing a little different. I am listening from the people and they tell me how life is in their district. And as Visol goes on mute for a moment, I'm listening to and have people tell me how it's going. So I'm gonna go through some folk and everybody's gonna get there. And McLaughlin is gonna be the next person up. So she can start unmuting. I'm going to give people 3 to 5 minutes and let them tell me what is happening in their area. How's the physical stock? How's the spirit of the people? Spirit is real. How people feeling there? We heard how COVID-19 has some of our elders scared to come out. How's the spirit going? How's everything of that nature? And people could speak in their own voice. And Madam Darsh McLaughlin, let's see if we can get you. Vice will be on standby if we
Can
can't
I
get
ask a
her.
quick question, Senator?
Oh, sure you can.
After being able to give us a sense of what's happening on the ground and how people are feeling, if
Sure.
before they close out, can everyone maybe give just one thing that you would like to see? You know, just like on a positive note, to be able to say, if I could do this, if I could weigh in,
Okay.
if you know, if I could do anything I want, you know, can we hear that so that I can take notes and be able to use that too?
Okay. I will jump back for a second to you, Eugenia, Ms. Gibson, since you spoke first. If you could change, bring, have, do anything you wanted in your neck of the woods, Beach 41st Street, what would it be? And you got to unmute. You're still muted. Now
Okay.
you can speak.
Okay. What I would love to see at Beach 41st Street, I would love to see the cleanness of the community. You know, the buildings, the garbage removed, not coming to the building and seeing all this garbage that's in front of the door, you know, not to be, you know, thank God for having a roof over our heads and stuff, but sometimes it comes to the point too, it's like really embarrassing to invite anybody over because you have all this bulk of garbage. And if we could just come in and just see the community, just you know, clean,
Okay.
the buildings
Let me,
clean.
I think they got you, Ms. Gibson. You're very clear on that.
Right.
It's good to be clear. Now
Yeah.
we have Ms. McLaughlin here, Ms. McLaughlin, the president of the president of the Oceanside Resident Association. And as Ms. Gina goes back on mute, Ms. McLaughlin, Doris, good to see you. How's the spirit? How's the physical world? How's everything there? What do you want us to know about Beach 41st? You got 3 minutes to do it. And if you had your way, what would you change, invite, bring, get rid of, etc.?
Well, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I think I think it would be the sidewalks. The sidewalks on the grounds of Oceanside Apartments are in dire need of repair. We've had several people who have fell down because of the sidewalks, who have injured themselves. So I think that would be something that I would say I would like done. As it relates to the overall feeling of the residents, or the residents, the feeling of the residents in this community, as it relates to COVID, I know that we heard from our coordinators who are in connection with us almost on a daily basis from resident engagement, that we have had a number of residents who've had COVID. No residents, we've had no deaths in Oceanside, but I understand that we have had residents with COVID who have had to be in quarantine. I was not given, I think we were given a number, but not necessarily the names. As it relates to the residents, when I come in contact with residents, they're covering themselves. I see that the seniors are coming out little by little. They come out during, as you well know, we have City Harvest every second and fourth Monday. We're giving out fresh vegetables and fruit to the residents, and the seniors are coming out on the 2nd and 4th Mondays. And we serve the seniors separately from the other residents because we don't want them to stand. So we serve them separately. So they
No, I think we lost her.
Okay, when we get her,
coming
wait,
out during those periods as to the overall. Hello, can you
yeah,
hear me?
yes, we can,
They
but
lost me?
you sometimes. Are you back?
Oh, I'm coming in and out.
Yes, you are.
Am I back? Okay, so what we're doing right now, I'm working with Brothers for Peace. Right now, we are, like I said, we give out food on the 2nd and 4th Mondays of the month. We've been giving out City Harvest. We have partnered with City Harvest. We partnered with Brothers for Peace, Rock Safe Streets, with different churches, First Church of God, Battalion Church, churches in Southeast Queens. Manny from Southeast Queens, the president of Southeast Queens, comes out to get City Harvest. Almost all of the public housing residents or presidents in Rockaway receive City Harvest. We're servicing over, I would say, 1,500 families twice a month. So we're doing that. But we do still need a lot of work done in Oceanside. There's a lot of issues that we have in our development that need to be resolved. We have a lot of issues, that we don't have an office. We're a board without an office. Right now, we understand that our center is getting ready to go into a RFP. So we're dealing with that. We're basically dealing with, there's a lot of issues that we're dealing with in Oceanside.
Well, I appreciate it. And
And we
will
do
come.
thank you for this opportunity. I just wanted to say we thank you for this opportunity to be able to, to get these issues out. Thank you so much, Senator Sanders.
Oh,
We
you're more than
appreciate you.
welcome, my beloved sister Doris. You are my boss. You're doggone right. I'm gonna listen to my book. It's not an opportunity. It's my doggone job. And while I appreciate your being courteous and your being my community is just so loving, Councilwoman. But I'm just kind of I want to make sure that the tail don't wag the dog. That my people understand that I am their employee. And the next person understands this. We're gonna hear from Manny Martinez. We're gonna hear from Visel, and we're gonna see who else is here. So Manny, if you unmute yourself, and that this would be a first. Manny's never been known to be muted. Probably the first and last time. Probably the first and last time, Brother Manny's ever been muted. He may want to be quiet on occasion, but I'm laughing about your 15 minutes of fame, brother. When we offline, why don't you call me and tell me the inside story on that one? But you may not have been here where I'm saying, normally we do a top-down state of the district where I tell you what's happening. Imagine me telling you what's happening in public housing. No. Our councilwoman, among others, is quick to tell us that the ones who really know are the people in the public housing right then and there. Mm-hmm. And maybe it might be good for us to be quiet a little bit and listen to them. So Brother Manny, would you be kind enough to take 3 to 5 minutes? I'm interested in hearing what's going on. How are the conditions? What's the spirit? Don't forget the spirit of the people. how are the people feeling? Like we heard that the seniors in one group were scared to come out thanks to COVID-19. Now notice that's not quantifiable. That's the spirit of the people. And then of course our councilwoman wants to know if you could change, bring one good thing, one bad thing, whatever, what is the one thing that you would do different in where you live? And I will let you take it from here. I'm gonna be quiet as we hear from the president of the South Jamaica Resident Association, Mr. Manuel Martinez, better known as Manny.
Good evening. I want to say good afternoon to everybody. Senator Sanders, thank you for this opportunity to speak and to express what's going on out here. Alika, Councilmember Samuels, it's always a pleasure to see you again. I'm excited, and also to all the other presidents, President McLaughlin, also Vazu, and I haven't seen Belinda. I think we've met once or twice, and it's good to see you again here. South Jamaica Houses, the spirit of South Jamaica Houses right now, we've endured some internal changes. And so we are hopeful, we are cautiously hopeful to see certain management deficiencies to be corrected. We do have, in regards to the COVID did hit us very hard. We lost several residents and also several members of the community that were impactful and significant to our community, and it hit us hard. When we look at and then just going on to the overall management of the COVID, which impacted us, when we look at the looseness of priority for the families of public housing, right? It seems that the public housing resident, that term right now, that term there is similar to a light bulb or a roof or another physical structure. It's not speaking to the people and the position that we play and the part that we play in public housing, right? And that becomes an issue because in that we begin to neglect things. For example, here we were hit hard by, and it's, forgive me, I can't, I always get the pronunciation of the tornado that came through on August 4th, which knocked down several trees throughout the development. And we still have trees knocked down on the floor a month later, September 4th, throughout my development. Now it's brought to my attention that there's one tree company, Trees R Us, that deals with the entirety of NYCHA in regards to the trees. And so now that is a redlining issue. That is a civil rights issue. Now, how is our funding being so manipulated and so condensed in such a manner that we have to now deal with down trees? And now we're not talking about small trees. The tree that I've had in my home. Now I was born and raised here in South Jamaica House, born and bred right here. And that tree that's been there, today I turned 43. That tree's been there 43 years that I know. And now that's it's 7 stories high, higher than the 7-story building. And it's laying on his back for a month. And we have trees like that all throughout the development. And there has been no attempt. And you're telling me that there is no other ability to have other companies to come in and service this type of circumstance? Companies that's from our communities that could potentially service this circumstance? And so now we really have to gauge at what's really going on with our housing authority and how they are interacting with us, right? And I know that Ms. Samuels was speaking to the fact of all of these changes that are going on. And I've reviewed the RAD and I've reviewed the NYCHA Blueprint for Change. When you look at the civil rights, not in the NYCHA Blueprint for Change, but in the RAD, the civil rights portion speaks to the community, doesn't speak to the persons, to the families who live here, who have civil rights, who are being stripped from their Section 9 privileges and services and access to facilities, as is stated in the legislation. When you look at Section 3, in which we're losing hundreds of millions of dollars a year, per year, hundreds of millions of dollars per year in economic training and development and careers because of this gross mismanagement that's going on for decades. How would our communities look with $300 million a year dedicated to training and employment? How would our communities look? How will we have the loitering that we have, the standing around, the stagnant options when they're right here, right now? Currently, right now, there's construction happening at my community center. There's $1 million that came from the state senate and $1 million that came from the council. And now they completely disregarded Section 3, even though it is a viable project for Section 3, and did not offer not a job, not an ability to train. And when I approached that contractor, which is Dasney, right, and their construction management company is Liro, Liro, they said, no, this ain't Section 3. And I remember you from Baisley Houses when I was when there was an engagement about Section 3 there. And it is Section 3 because it's mandated for the housing authority to come in and be involved. See, it's not, Section 3 isn't just about the actual capital funding, but the activities, the involvement, the mandated responsibility that the housing authority has in order to allow that construction to go forward. There's no economic threshold to Section 3. And so that means that if a penny is involved, the entirety of the project, no matter where it comes from, is involved. And we've had that discussion. I sent that to HUD, and I've sent that, and I continue to have that discussion. And there has been no opposition to it, except from the housing authority. And so the condition of our state here in South Jamaica houses is transitional, right? We have some changes here. We've addressed certain management discrepancies, and I'm right now engaging with the property manager to create a survey and distribute it to the 1,046 households that we have here in regards to the safety, the intercoms, the doors, right? Because we have an influx of makeshift shelters in our basements. So now that the weather is breaking, especially under COVID, right, we are expecting to host 30 to 40, if not more, persons who don't have a home or, maybe, addicted to something or having some type of mental issues. Because I have one resident at a time. I actually had 2 residents that I know of when interactions with these people. I've spoken and I've planned with the police department, and I will say that their efforts and their collaboration with us, I'm grateful for it, right? We are on the same page and we are moving forward, right? But there are certain aspects in this scenario that limits us. There's no cameras in our basements, but the access to our basements is so easily facilitated, right? Just by coming in the building, you are able to get into the basement. And so now our seniors are in danger. Talking about danger, feeling dangerous of coming outside. They're in actual danger because they have this population who has a high probability of contagion right there in their building and interacting with the community in a manner that is very concerning. So, and if I would like to see one thing, right, and this one thing I would like to see for the entirety of NYCHA is for our civil rights to be enforced, for legislation to be enforced, for the way that public housing under Section 9 is supposed to be ran, that we exhaust all of the opportunities that we have under Section 9. And the other thing too is we're not exploring in this whole host of privatization is home ownership equity. We have 170,000 units. Why are we not offering home ownership equity? You want to eliminate public housing, then allow the families of public housing to get the end result. You want to eliminate it, then give it to them. And with that, thank you for my 5 minutes of fame, Senator, which is better than any other 5 minutes. And it was consensual, you and I. Appreciate you, Senator.
Well, I appreciate it. And I may or may not use this on some other place. I may decide to take this when I'm with the libertarians, and I may show it to them. But until then, I will be kind. We're going to go to Beisel, then we're going to go to Belinda. I'm sorry, Miss Belinda, I stand corrected. But Beisel, why don't you save me from myself? This is the president, of course, of the 41st, I'm sorry, the Ocean Bay / Wavecrest. They changed the name. Man, I tell you, I don't think that that's the name. Is that the name, Bison? Why don't you tell us?
Well,
Save me from
yes,
myself, brother.
as for Ocean Bay, I'm gonna say, yeah, the residents, they're a little bit, since COVID, we did lose some people in Ocean Bay to COVID. That's a fact. We did lose some people, right, from through COVID. So the residents, especially the seniors, they are nervous, right? A lot of seniors are not coming outside because they're nervous to be outside, right? Right now, our problem is with the youth. Our biggest problem is with the youth, the kids, the ones under 14 years of age, right? The ones under 14, they seem like they're getting into a lot of trouble, destroying the property, vandalizing the buildings and stuff like that. They're the ones under 14, the ages between, I would say 10 to 14. That's the ones we having problems with now.
Wow.
But I'm gonna say, as for the spirit of the development, the spirit is pretty good. Our biggest issue we have walking out our doors, seeing the property across the street on the corner of 54th Street, right? We out there every Sunday and Monday, every other week. We out there. We maintain that property. We cut the grass. We pick up the trash, right? We go all the way down to 54th Street towards the Mars. So me and Doris and a couple other volunteers, right, from Oceanside and Ocean Bay, plus Brothers of Peace, we go out there and we maintain that. We spread out now. We did by the old hospital. We cleaned over there by Beach Channel Drive from 51st Street to 53rd Street. We had 11 bags of garbage there. So we just we went to Gateway. We cleaned up our Gateway. We had 9 bags of garbage there. So we've been going to different areas, actually cleaning up, letting people know, right? It's a shame that your area is full of garbage and the weeds is bigger than us. That nobody is maintaining them areas anymore. And we're doing voter registration as well. So far we got 11 people registered to vote. So we've been out doing voter registration. Especially we've been hitting the young people by voter registration. We have 2 petitions. We have a petition, right, for a speed bump by 105, because 105 school is the only school that don't have a speed bump. We had a petition for 49th Street to get a light there because the kids be running across and the little girl got hit by a car there. So with conjunctions with Oceanside, we've been doing that, petitions, cleanup days, doing a lot of stuff around the neighborhood. We've been spreading us, we call ourselves spreading ourselves a little thin, trying to get other people to partner with us with City Harvest as well. So we have a lot on our plate, but we saying we will, to go to other people's neighborhood and help out, right? We're willing to come there and help out with you, because it's not just about our neighborhood, it's about the whole Rockaway. But like I said, if I had one thing in my development, finding more things for the younger youth to do, because right now we have things for the older ones, but we don't have nothing really for the younger ones, to find something for the younger ones to do.
Just a point of clarification. Did you say Ocean Bay, like the new Ocean Bay?
Yes.
And you said young people, making sure that they have something to do and to prevent them from.
No, see, everybody target the 16 to 24. Everybody target the 16 to 24, right? And they say, okay, if you're 14, you can get a summer youth job, or you can get something, what it may be, right? But we forget about that youth that's under that 14, right? You have Rockaway Explorers. They have the Rockaway Colts. They do football for the younger ones. You have the IBI Baseball League for the little younger ones. But that group that's from 10 to 14, that group is the next generation. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's the next generation. That group there from 10 to 14, they got plenty of idle time, right? That's the group that the gangs recruit for now. They target that age group from 10 to 14 because they know if they get in any trouble, their parents can come get them. That's a known fact. They're going to be charged as a juvenile offender. Parents can come get them because they're underage. So if the gangs know this here, we know this too. Everybody know, yeah, if you're under 14 years old, your parent can come get you, right? So like, so if I know that, they know that, what it may be. We can't forget them kids, that age group, what it may be. I'm just saying, yeah, that's the next age group we need to be looking out for. Because, okay, the older ones, there's plenty of programs out there for the older ones, 16 to 24, right, and up. But for the younger ones, it's not too much stuff. They're too young to get a summer youth job, right? So yeah, so if they're too young to get a summer youth job, it's not like you got the Boy Scouts or you got something here, or the cadets, the junior cadets, what it may be, right, for that age group. So you only have 2 programs out here that I can see it. The Rockaway Colts, they do football. The Rockaway IBI do baseball. But everybody in our community do not play football and do not play baseball. So like I see it. So you got, they don't play baseball, like I say, or don't play football. What do you do for them?
Well put, brother. Well put, as usual. Now, let me, right before I call on Ms. Belinda Davis, let me remind folk of what we're doing. We're going to do this in 3 steps. The first step is that we get a chance, y'all get a chance to give me an education. Usually a state of the district, I'm top down telling you, man, he wouldn't have me do that way. And Vice Sir said, nah, we're not gonna do it that way. So I'm listening to you. You all are educating me. I appreciate that. You taking the 3 to 5 minutes to bring me up to date, bring me up to speed. Then we're going to have Brian Honan chime in. And I apologize, Brian. I should have at least let you make an opening statement, all of that good stuff. I appreciate your kindness on that. And we can have dialogue with Brian on how NYCHA can be more effective. But the third step is that y'all need to say how I need to be more effective. Y'all need to say how the senator needs to be more effective with you, because there's always better, and I'm the type that always want to do better for my bosses that y'all are, but you're also my friends, which means that I want to make it even more. Friendship doesn't mean I get away with being a slouch. Friendship means that I try even harder. So I look at all of that. So having said that, Miss Belinda, you've been waiting patiently. Miss Belinda Davis, the president of the Tenants Association of Hamels Houses. And I remind everybody, this is where I was born. I was born in the Hamels Houses, 8101. After you, Belinda.
Well, I wasn't really waiting to speak. No, I wasn't. But hello, everyone. COVID has been a tough hit for the Hamels, losing and people being sick, not being able to tend to the elderly as much with limited volunteers and stuff. So COVID deaths alone has been horrible. COVID has me to a point where I don't want to be bothered anymore. I mean, if all of you know, excuse my tears, is not for the meeting. It's just, I'm tired.
I understand. We're sharing them with you, Miss Lady.
I lost my oldest sibling, Anita, to this COVID.
Oh my.
A lot of seniors that I take care of in the community and at my church, I've lost a lot.
Yes.
A lot of people. It's horrible. And then you have tenants that's just, I mean, residents, they just wasting the food that we out there taking time to make sure people receive, and the residents just wasting it. It's horrible. NYCHA don't have enough staff to keep up. Manny spoke about Section 3 with construction jobs. Construction wouldn't take so long, like for the years that they put out for the time to do it. Like I'm saying, I don't know what the gap may be, but like 2019 to 2023. It wouldn't take that long if they would hire residents, but they're limited workers and they doing half jobs. Yes, they're being safe, but they're doing half jobs or not even doing much during the day because they don't want to hire residents. And I don't know if they don't want to or they're not able to or whatever. It's just that maybe COVID, they not offering, if they say that you need the 90-day course or whatever it is they saying it is, offer something online for the people until you can go in and do something on hand, you know, do the on hand training or something or whatever. But NYCHA is not pushing for that, as Manny stated. NYCHA need to be more responsible with doing something for the residents. And NYCHA is not being responsible concerning that. We don't have youth vandalism. It's more of the grown-ups because they're trying to be outside. So again, they're doing the same thing they did for years, pissing in the elevator, pissing in the hallway, leaving garbage in the hallway, because it's either you can't be in the park because of COVID, or you don't have a child to go to be in the park, you're getting a ticket. You're getting summons for being in the park without a child. So it's more of the grown-ups that's vandalizing around here. Because and like I said, urinating in the buildings because they don't have nowhere to go. It's like, it's horrible. There's nothing. You remember being here, Senator, is you had barrels, you had benches. We don't have that here. All we got is fences now with, like he said, garbage that's taller than we are. Like Vizel said, garbage that's and weeds that's taller than we are. So there's really nothing to do. Another big concern of really that's been bothering me like the past 2 months, not bothering me, but like I've been dealing with the residents, is concern for kids going back to school. Not only is COVID throughout all diverse, you know, of the people, but Rockaway had a hard hit with the Jewish community. That was the worst hit Rockaway had, like all of, you know, like all of a sudden, like a big impact. And for the kids to be going back to school and they don't really have it all together, because the picture is bigger than separating the class into an A group and a B group. How are you going to feed these kids? Parent involvement, because you can't go inside the buildings. So all of this stuff is very, very important. And I don't know how they look. It's like, it's not, to me, I work in the building, I work for DOE. So I don't see them looking at the real big picture. It's like they trying to rush the kids back to school when it's very unsafe. And if we had a uncleanliness with Jewish and other teachers, we're going to still have an uncleanliness, because you can't force them to do something that they don't want to do. Giving out pantry this whole pandemic 6 months, I've seen teachers that work inside my school, and I mean, not my school, but you know, the building that I work in, and they don't wear masks. They never was forced. They you know, they said, oh no, my family this, my family that, whatever. So I've seen a few teachers that's not into wearing masks. And I wonder how that's really going to go, because you have NYPD that don't wear masks. It's like, it's horrible. So my last 2 months has been concerned on parents wanting to know what's going on as far as education. And I don't know if you've been inside the buildings with the principals to really get the upfront look on, like, you're not going to just beat us in the head over Zoom. I want to know what really, like, you can tell these parents that I went and I spoke and I sat down with these people, and what have they told you, or what are they really doing? Because now school is pushed back for the 21st, which really means that they're not ready. Something is really wrong, and there's a big issue that you're not going to open school on the 10th, you're going to wait till the 21st, and then what is it going to turn into, and what's really going on? So that's a big concern. And on top of, I'm a child that lost a parent, and I'm a parent that lost a child. So I've been on both sides of the fence. And then, like I said, losing my sister to COVID, God forbid if one of these kids gets sick and a parent cannot be with their child in the hospital or whatever because of COVID. I mean, if y'all understand what I'm saying, like, what's going on? Like those are my concerns, really.
Well, I will respond to you in a second, but if there was one thing that you could have, do, be, wish for Hamels, what is that thing?
The people don't have no hope here. They need somebody to come talk to them. And Lisa G, I've seen you, and it's been double standard going on around here. Like, I don't understand. It's like the people really don't know what to think. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
We haven't had no real officials, or not real. I mean, we haven't had any officials come and get in. I mean, and be face to face with these people. Everybody talking about Zoom or family days, but what are they really telling the people? The housing gave out. Here's another thing that just really knocked people. They don't know what to do. Housing gave out air conditioners to a lot of the residents, mobilely impaired and seniors, right? Mm-hmm. And then a week later or whatever, you see air condition on the news. Air conditioners is not good because it brings COVID into your home and da da da. You understand? It was like, what's going on? So we need somebody to really come, stand. You don't have to be, I mean, you know, social distance, but talk to the people and like, really, this is what's going on. The Colts did a event over there in the
parking lot,
the shopping center, and that was good for the kids because like it let them know that you can still live. You understand? But the adults and the parents and the seniors, they have no clue what's really going on. That's why most of them don't really wear masks, because they don't really know what to believe. And I asked for this before. Can somebody come out and really talk to these people? Because I don't want to say, I don't want to be the one to say, oh, well, I was told or I heard. No, come on. Where's the officials that's really going to talk to these people and say, look, this is what it is, and this is what is really what's really going on?
Well, let me say a couple of things. First things first, that we, on behalf of everybody on this line, we send you love and condolences for the loss of your sibling. And the first things first, we're gonna get just real and send you our love and condolences and our prayers for that.
Yeah, but not for that. I mean, not for that.
Well,
I thank y'all so
finish.
much, but not for that. But it was just like the COVID situation, period, is confusing. And the people really don't understand, or like they have no hope.
Well, the second thing I was going to say, Sister Belinda, is that when we finish, Lisa is going to make sure that my scheduler schedules when I'm coming out to meet with you and y'all. And I will see if there's anybody from the Department of Health that can come and speak, but I will come out myself and spend the day with us in Hamels. And I'll go anywhere, speak to anybody at any time. So I'm, as you probably know, I'm not a thin-skinned guy. You can bring the people. I love folks. So we'll hook that one up. But the sad thing is nobody's got a grip on this thing, Sister Davis. Nobody has, this thing is new to the world, COVID-19. And the information has changed a great deal. We've gone from You don't need to wear a mask till you need to wear a mask. You can't get, the young can't get it till the young can get it. And it is confusing, but sadly, we have to get you confusion because the information is evolving, it's growing. As we learn a little bit more, we can say a little bit more. So nobody can just come and say, here, short of God, nobody can come and say, here's where things are, and it will always be this way. We can come and say, here's the best knowledge that we got. And if that's not enough, we have an idiot in the White House who hates science, who is against knowledge and makes small of knowledge so people can, so it's hard. Man, we got our work cut out, but that's all right. We'll hold that conversation when I'm there, and and we'll figure out a way to break bread and talk, because in our traditions, we solve most problems by breaking bread together and talking about stuff, and we'll figure out how to do that. I appreciate that. Now remember, we got 3 phases. We're finishing this phase. We're going to go to the next one. We're in a moment or two where we hear from Ryan Honan, and then the last phase is what you just did. I'm going to say, how can I be more useful? You of course, Hamill's always jumps and gets there first, so I appreciate that. True to the word. But we'll get to that in a minute. Now, I'm not sure if we have Maggie Larkin. I don't believe that we do, or Lawana Gainey, or A.U. Hogan. Since I don't believe we have them.
No, no, sir.
Now, we're gonna, Brian, you're up at bat. Allow me to give you the 20-second introduction. Brian Honan is now you all know him, but I've known him for more, my God, it's heading towards 30 years, Brian. We really got to figure this one out. Of course, he was 1 year old when I first knew him. And I've seen him in good phases. I've seen him in bad phases. And, but I've never seen him with his beard. I've never seen him with his beard. Now, as I was telling Weissel, I've been growing a beard myself. And, I think it's coming. Weissel, you think it's coming out right? Yeah. Yeah, I'll shape it up later on in the evening. Brian, you are a vice president of intergovernment relations in NYCHA. You have heard many different things. First, why don't you greet us in whatever way you wish, and then you can give some feedback to some of the things that they have said. And toward the end, sir, I want you to tell me how I can be more useful, because it's not just you on this line. We're all here to serve my bosses. Brian Honan, thank you very much.
Well, Senator, thank you so much. And yes, we do know each other for a long time, and we've been working together, both in our current capacities and other capacities. But I think, the one thing I can always say that you put public housing residents first and foremost in everything you do, even on subjects that have nothing to do with NYCHA, you would think, but somehow you find a NYCHA angle, and I really appreciate that. And to this group, this is a very familiar group to me. During COVID, whether it was the council member or the senator or both of them combined together, we've held many conversations together during COVID. And before COVID, I spend a lot of time in the Rockaways, not as much as I'd like in South Jamaica, but many. I'm always glad to go out there. But this has been a very, very difficult time. I've been at NYCHA now for 15 years. And if you asked me, what was my toughest year, I probably would have said before 2020, 2012. And that was the year of Sandy. And I remember the day after Sandy, I was at Ocean Bay. The neighborhood looked like the whole community looked like it had just been. It was the aftermath of the war, and we didn't know. We had no answer to every. We would be asking a lot of questions, and we didn't have answers. But the one thing that people told us over and over again, because it was something that we said early. We asked people, if you want to transfer, let us know, and we can help you get to another development. And the one thing that people told us over and over again was, I don't really want to leave. I really love Rockaway. I really love my community, and I want to stay here, but I want it to be better. And that is something that consistently I hear people are proud of their communities, people want to stay in the communities, they just want it to be better. 2020, I think, has been by far my toughest year, because COVID has hit us in so many different ways. It is a multi-pronged crisis that I still can't get my head around. There is the obvious health crisis that has hit NYCHA and NYCHA communities throughout the city. But there's also the economic crisis. Many NYCHA residents have lost income entirely, or lost some of their income, or have somebody in their family who have lost income. And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. But there's also the isolation, especially for seniors and especially for children. I think it's hit them the hardest. Children not being able to go to school, not being able to see their friends, not being all together at the same time is really difficult. Seniors not being able to go to senior centers, not being able to go about their regular business. It's incredibly difficult. Then the last part, and shouldn't be forgotten, is the toll that this has taken on NYCHA staff. NYCHA staff are frontline workers, and I know, yes, people have some issues with some NYCHA staff, but for the most part, NYCHA staff came to work every single day, did the best that they could. But we're hit really hard. A lot of NYCHA staff were sick. We lost some NYCHA staffers to the virus, and many staffers too, because of things like school closing, had family obligations that made it impossible for them to come to work, and we had to be mindful of that. So this is a virus that continues to hit us in a myriad of different ways, and it's going to take us probably years to get over it too as well. But the one thing I will say is um, the way the resident leaders have stayed together and have stepped up, even on their own, and working with NYCHA and working on their own, has been laudable. I hear just the food that's been given out at Ocean Bay on the ocean side has been just Ms. McLaughlin and all the others who have pitched in there. That is an effort that I hear about all the time, and it's just great. We continue to have a moratorium on evictions that will last throughout the year, but that does not mean that we have a rent moratorium. So just because we have an eviction moratorium, we have to make sure that people know that they still have to pay the rent. But if you have been affected economically in any way by this virus, or even not because unrelated to the virus, just by the economic climate, and your income has changed, you can apply for NYCHA's rent hardship program, and your rent will be adjusted. And it doesn't even have to be you personally. It could be anyone in your household who is on the lease and whose income is factored into your rent. So nobody should be paying more than 30% of their income towards rent. And please, please take advantage of this program. Thousands of people have taken advantage of it. and don't put it off because it's so easy to do. You can do it 3 ways. You can do it online. You can go to NYCHA self-service portal. Do it online. No documents are necessary, by the way. I apologize. I just got a call in, so you might have lost me. You can call the call center, which is, we all know the number. Hit number 5, and that will connect you to somebody who will help you through this process. They will ask you 6 questions, no more than 6 questions, and you will, once again, be able to get your rent adjusted. Or if you want to speak to somebody in person, you can make an appointment, go to your management office, and you can, certainly do it that way as well. That will require you to fill out a form, but it will not require you to hand in any documentation. So, the days of scrambling around, getting a letter from your employer, stuff like that, we don't need that right now. All we need you to do is to tell us that you've lost income, and we will adjust your rent. Now, I've heard from all of you many of the questions around, cleanliness and the sidewalks at Beach 41st and the trees at South Jamaica. I will take all of those back to the general manager and be happy to report back. But they are a challenge throughout the portfolio. It's not only here in these developments that I'm hearing it. It's been a challenge for a long time. Beach 41st and the Ocean Bay across from Wavecrest, they share management. And when you share management, you're a consolidation. It seems like both of the developments lose out a little bit. And so they both seem shortchanged. And so, Senator, you asked about, what can we do long term? The chair has come up with a plan, and we can probably, very soon, shortly, and I think it would be a good idea to schedule something with this group where we can get the chair to present his vision for a new plan that will require state legislation. So this is something, for you, Senator, that we'll talk to you about. It will also require federal intervention to do 3 things. Number 1, we want to make sure that tenants' rights are preserved. We want to make sure that the things that you care about that I heard mentioned, like Section 3 and 964, which is a reg that gives tenants the rights to organize, remain strong. We want to bring in funding. We all know that the federal government has not funded NYCHA properly in generations, not just, recent. This is not a Trump thing. This is, this goes back on Obama, this goes back onto Bush, this goes back into Clinton, this goes back as far as any of us can remember. It has not been funded correctly. We have an opportunity to create an organization similar to the School Construction Authority that will allow us to bring in additional funds using what is called tenant protection vouchers. Now, these vouchers are very important because they are more valuable than traditional public housing. The trust will also be able to do something that NYCHA cannot currently do. They'll be able to procure and hire better vendors. Oftentimes I hear from tenants, they say, I'll help you fight for money. I'll go to Albany with you. I'll go to Washington with you. But Brian, honestly, I'm not confident that if I get you the money, that NYCHA will be able to do the work quickly and efficiently, right? So a new trust that will be set up, that will have a lot of the tools that the School Construction Authority has, which we all can probably agree is an organization that's been able to Now, this is a big idea. It requires a lot of input. The chair has been holding town hall meetings for residents. Today, just had one with 150 people there. The other day, we had 200 people. He's been doing some meetings with individual residents, but I would love him to come and address this idea because nobody talks about this better than he does. nobody can answer the questions. But the truth is, we have to do something. We have to do something dramatic, and the status quo is just not sustainable. There is time. We need input for residents. We need input from the community. We need input from elected officials. But without a bold plan, the only thing I can offer all of you is Band-Aids. And we don't need Band-Aids. We need something that's serious, that solves our problems. Because all the things I heard today, nobody was asking for anything that was a luxury item. Everybody was asking for something that was just plain decency. Treat me with respect, staff my building properly, and take care of these minor things like a sidewalk, making sure that when I come into the building, the elevator works, making sure that the hallways are clean, and things like that. Those are things that we should provide effortlessly, but unfortunately, because of the way we're set up right now, they're a challenge. So, Senator, I'll leave it there, and I'll take questions.
Well, I certainly appreciate. Here's how the questions will go. They will go to the chair first, to the councilwoman, and any feedback that she wishes. Then we'll go to our tenant leaders. I've been up here too long doing this too. This is my second day of doing this. As you'll probably know, I've done this since early yesterday morning, but it's been great. And then Lisa, I'm going to go to the audience. If there are people on the audience who have questions, concerns, and comments, they can type them into you, and we'll deal with that. But I'm especially interested in your idea of this new trust patterned after the School Construction Authority. I was there when we created School Construction Authority. Madam Chair, what do you think of all that you heard today?
You know what? So it's nothing that I haven't heard before prior to COVID, right? COVID just exacerbated everything, in addition to all of the protests and the riots. And just listening to the sister Belinda, it's our reality, and it's the reality in certain communities. This is not the reality of every New Yorker. It's the reality of certain New Yorkers, which is the problem. And Brian knows this story. I have a first cousin that lives in NYCHA, that work at NYCHA. She has a school-age child during this process, and she has a senior mother in the apartment. And she went to work every day and caught COVID, and came home to her child having to do online learning, and to her mother, who became very ill. But everybody just continued to move on, because it's just what we do. We're used to being ignored and neglected, and the afterthought. And so what Manny said in his comments about, which was key, and you said, Manny, the looseness of priority for residents, right? We could say what we want about how the city of New York and how the state of New York handled the COVID, but how they handled it was total disregard, and NYCHA residents was just not a priority. Just wasn't. Our seniors were not a priority. I remember being on the call, and I was told that, well, this virus will hit our seniors, and the ones that have pre-existing conditions, 9 times out of 10 will die. So we can't. So it's no need for us to go and do X, Y, Z, because they're going to die anyway, right? That's that's what we were told, and that's as an elected official being on the call with administrators, right? And so moving forward, Manny, you also mentioned like ownership, right? The opportunity to own. And Brian has heard me say this, I think, a gazillion times, the fact that as we look at a plan and a strategy and a vision, and I keep saying, like, where's the resident's voice in that? There's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity for resident management groups, depending on development size and type, that's already built into the actual CFRs, the federal regulations is there. There's already a blueprint. There's a model. There's opportunities for residents to possibly own their units, right? We're not talking about the entire portfolio. We're talking about certain developments, certain areas, certain families, because we're not all the same, but there's opportunity there. And those models exist under HPD's TIL program. There were times when we were doing workforce development. There were times when the city was giving away their own buildings and working with residents to own their buildings in the co-op model. So there are so many different things that we can do as part of this conversation, where the residents could then be a part of ownership, have a stake. The community, the city is talking about community land trusts, right? So what about making sure that there's a built-in intentional community land trust concept in this trust, and making sure that the residents are part of the board? It's like so many different things that we can do, but it requires elected officials to be at the table, right? Not be briefed after the fact, but be a part of the conversation, making sure that the residents are part of the conversation from the beginning, not being briefed about what was already decided on, but right now. And so I think that there's opportunity there, but again, does it have to be the entire portfolio? Absolutely not. The federal government still have funding the same way they'll be able to provide funding that can go to the trust and the vouchers, the same way they can still fund Section 9 as it exists. But I get it. That's not a priority, right? Right? Prioritizing people in certain communities is not a priority. But we can make it a priority, and we can make it right now in this climate with everything that we're seeing. Occupy City Hall, right? Occupy NYCHA, occupy this, occupy that. We can make sure that the voices are loud enough so that the residents are part of ownership, part of management, and part of the strategy and plan moving forward.
Well put. What do you think of their idea of this new trust of a school construction type idea? Do you want to study it more, or what do you think?
No, I can, just from just off the cuff, like listening to the plan, listening to the conversation, it makes sense, right? It makes sense because something has to happen. And then, it's the word trust, and we know that there's actual trust, like an entity. But when you look at that word, trust is also an issue with residents, right? Just like the trust as a word. And so to be able to move away from NYCHA as the authority and like the management and the structure itself, and putting it into the hands of an independent body that includes voices from a number of stakeholders, you can trust that. You can trust that, right? And so I think the concept makes sense. The concept makes sense, especially when we talk about the school construction authority. Again, it just boils down to how that plays out, right? It kind of boils down to, Senator, what y'all do on the state level, because this is something that has to go before, you all. But it really depends on the voice and the level of partnership with the residents that will truly make this trust meaningful and really make a difference. But again, when you look at the entire portfolio of NYCHA, every development is different, every community is different. And I think we should have a level of respect for that as well.
Well put, madam. Do any of my leaders want to respond to, and Lisa, you will get, I tell you what, just raise your hands so that I see, and I'll do it fast. Do any of my leaders wish to respond? Okay, Manny, I see Manny. Anybody else? All right, brother Manny, go for it. I see Eugenia. She will be second.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Council Member. Right, that was very refreshing to hear that we have these things on the table, and after long discussions and fights, that now they have substance. What I will say about the blueprint for change is that transition in funding also automatically takes us out of or restricts our privileges with regards to federal enforcement. Also restricts our privileges in regards to federal representation. Every resident council officer that's on here now is a federal officer that is elected by the residents. We lose that representation. There's been a disconnect in our authority and understanding truly what our authority is, but we are present, and that is reflected in legislation. When we begin to barter with our rights, the consideration for it has to be determined by us. Right? We have to make sure that we're not bartering, because we're not the child here. We're not the minority, the minority portion of this family structure. Right? We stand shoulder to shoulder with the housing authority. Now, the housing authority has, throughout the years, and I'm not speaking to the current administration, but throughout the years, they have made a consistent effort of minimizing our enforcement and minimizing our voice. We need to come out of that now. And so I just want to say, in the plans to come, please remember that the consideration needs to be made for us, because it is our civil rights and our rights and privileges in which you are bartering with, and we have no part of the conversation. And just one last thing, the fact that the plan was created without us raises some severe concerns, because in federal legislation, the housing authority must include us in every step. And we had no input in it, and being presented it last, because remind you, this whole presentation came at the New York City Housing Conference at a meeting. We had no idea about it. That is of concern. And so with that, I want to thank you for allowing us to be heard, allowing me to be heard. And I appreciate the concepts that you have. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I heard that you got juice down in DC, so I got to treat you right. I'm having a ball. Eugenia, you wanted to get it here. And then we'll hear from Doris.
Okay, I just want to say thank you, Senator, for setting everything up for us today. I appreciate it, and I just too agree with what Manny is saying. So I don't have to add to it, but I do agree a lot. That needs to be let know, what's going on and not laugh. We'll talk about it later. As you see, my baby is crying. but just again, just want to say thank you, and that we live here. This is where we stay, and that we should not be last to know what's going on. Let us know. Like we feel like we are nothing or nobody. We pay the rent here. We feel like that we should have an input on what's going on, not last. And when I did leave out something when we talk about what I would like to change, gun violence in the neighborhood. Okay, well, we're talking about things being cleaner, but the gun violence in Beach 41st Street, that is something that I would love to see a change with the gun violence in our community. It is getting outrageous. Outrageous. So this is another change that I would love to see in our community.
Well put.
Okay. But
Well
I'm
put.
gonna cut it short. But that's turning out to be. And Beach 41st Street was never like how it is now. But it's a lot of gun shooting down here. People getting shot, people outside, and again going back to the seniors. Bad enough with the COVID. But now they're scared to come outside as well because of the shooting. And as Faisal stated, it's a lot of it's the youth that's running around here with the guns, shooting. So now the seniors don't want to come outside and sit. You're scared to come out and sit with your kids. It's not safe for none of us out here. They just coming around here and just shooting like crazy. It's something that we really need to work together as a whole and try to stop this gun violence, which is not just here, it's everywhere, but it's really bad, getting really bad here on Beach 41st Street.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for taking care of the village's child. Ours, since it takes a village to raise a child, that's all about child. Thank you for that. Doris wanted to get in, and then we'll hear Belinda.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
All right, Doris, this is your moment. We're gonna pass you if you don't get into it. Getting closer. We know your name now, Doris. Now you got to figure out how to get your pretty face in here.
Can you hear me? Hello?
We can
Now we
hear
can,
you. You gonna just be a voice, or you gonna be a face?
Oh. Okay, do you hear me?
We hear you. We don't see you, but
Okay.
we hear you.
Okay, so I just wanted to speak on so many things. So piggybacking off Gina regarding, the police and the fact that we just had a police a meeting with the police last week, in which one of our buildings we're having issue, with people hanging out in front of building 309 on Beach 54th Street. They're hanging out in front of the building, in the building, on the stairwells, sleeping on the floors. One of the residents, who is a captain, who is a captain in that building, was complaining, to the police regarding that issue. And they're telling us that they're telling us there's nothing they could do. So, I'm in this meeting. I got so frustrated because I'm not understanding, why do you have us in a meeting to find solutions if we're giving you solutions. You're telling us you can't give these people that are hanging out in front of the buildings, this building in particular, that you can't give them a summons. NYCHA has signs up in the building saying no trespassing. So if you have signs up in the building, why is it that you have these signs up in the buildings and you have a rule, a regulation, but yet the police are telling us, our NCO officers are telling us that they are not able to enforce those rules and those regulations? That's something I'm baffled by. That has me baffled. The other thing that's going on, I didn't say it earlier, but we do need, as Gina, I'm going to reiterate what Gina said, we do need more cleaning in our buildings. We need like strategic cleaning. Like, the maintenance workers, they clean, but it's not like a clean. So the other thing I wanted to speak on was management. We just got a new manager in Oceanside Apartments. And this manager he does not really want to have a relationship with our board. He's missed 2 meetings. We're supposed to have a meeting with the manager once a month, and that is not happening. He's not meeting with us once a month. It seems like he's ducking and dodging. I'm hearing from residents, from workers, that this manager is walking around asking people, do they live here? He's knocking on people's doors, putting paperwork on the outside of people's doors where anybody could see the paperwork. At one point, I felt like he was harassing me, because he's new. I have a dog, and my dog is registered with NYCHA. My dog is 16 years old. She's registered, has been registered from the time we bought her here. He didn't know that, but he started harassing me about the fact that my dog is registered. He's looking up the paperwork. He sees my dog is registered. So the things that he did, he didn't necessarily have to do, so we do have an issue with this manager. There is clearly an issue with this manager. So the other thing I did want to say, as it relates to the blueprint, that I didn't understand why is it that we were not at the table to, as Manny alluded to and touched on, that the resident councils were not at the table to have a say in the blueprint. You know, the things that we would like to add, the things that we were in disagreement with, you know, I'm not totally understanding. I'm a new president, and I mean, I've been living in public housing for a very long time, and I've, you know, observed that we as residents and resident council, our voice is certainly being muzzled. And a lot of times we are not at the table. And I'm finding that to be a problem, why decisions are made for us who live in public housing, who are leaders, are on the front line, who live here. We know what is going on in our development. And yet we are not at the table. Also, I will say as Gina, that we are certainly ignored. In COVID-19, public housing as a whole has been, in my viewpoint, ignored. You know, there's a Black Lives movement, there's a Black Lives Matter movement. There should also, I believe there is a public housing movement, but the fact that public housing, we as public housing residents and leaders, we are not called to the table. We are totally ignored. We are not asked to come to the table to find out until now, thank you, Senator Sanders, to hear our voice of what it is that we're going through, what it is that we are dealing with as a public housing resident. And this is a problem. And I don't understand why we are not asked to come to the table. Decisions are made for us. And we are not, we are learned that these decisions are made after the fact. After the decision is made, after the building is put up that blocks my neighbor's window on the first floor. A building was put up to block her window on the first floor. Now I'm president, I see the building, I'm like, oh my God, how did that happen? Like, how do you block somebody's window? When they look out their window now, their living room, their bedroom window, they see brick. They see brick. Now, when that person moved in that apartment, they didn't move in that apartment with a brick building in front of their window. That's not what they signed up for. So these are the types of things that are happening against residents of public housing who, just like if you know, a lot of times the police are murdering our Black men and women and children. It's the same thing with, you know, it's an offense. And it's the same thing with residents of public housing and leaders who we are elected leaders that the residents have elected. And yet we are not asked to the table when the decisions are made. Here we are, we do not have a management office. We are sharing a management office with Beach 40th Street. Our residents have to walk down to the 40s in the sleet, the snow, the rain. We've been advocating since I've been in office. Can we have 3 days out of the week? Can we have the office to come, the management office, 3 days out of the week to come to Oceanside, to set up in Oceanside so the seniors, the residents can fill out their forms, you know, their yearly annual forms. They don't have to travel on a bus, a scooter, a bike, Uber, a cab, money that they may not even have to get the assistance that we used to have. We used to walk right across the street to Edgemere. That used to be our management office. But our management office was taken away from us without our knowledge. We had no knowledge that our management office was taken from us. We were not even told that this was going to happen. And these are the things that keep happening. Things are taken away from us without us being at the table.
Say, Doris, I'm going to try to give Brian a chance to respond. You put so much on the table.
Because it's building up. You know, Senator Sanders, I've been talking to you about this. You know, y'all, and I thank God for you, Senator Sanders, for your office, really, because we wouldn't have so many, you know, of the things that we have, a lot of issues that we have had. We have gotten them resolved through your office, you know, and I thank God.
No, we've been blessed, and you have been a blessing. I do want you to get answers. That's what I'm saying, Sister Doris. I want you. You put so much stuff. I don't want this man to say, "Man, I forgot half of what she said." I want him to be able to answer. But I'm going to hear from Belinda first, and then Brian will get a chance to respond. Then our chair will get, if she wishes, will get a chance to say what she learned from all this. And then we're going to turn it to me if we have time, where y'all could put me to work, where y'all can say what you need more out of me. Because I don't just, it ain't just Brian, it ain't these folk, it's us holding ourselves accountable and responsible. And I'm going to start with me. So Belinda wanted to get in here. Thank you, Doris.
I just wanted to say that's the point that I was making, like with NYCHA being responsible as far as the gun violence. Do something, because you know which households are creating this. It's like the same people doing the same things all the time, and you're not holding these households responsible. The same thing with NYPD. It's like they waiting for bigger fish to fry. You're not going to find the supplier of the guns, but you know the users of the guns. So do something. So that's with the gun violence. It's like NYCHA taking responsibility for the buildings not being clean or whatever. It's not that the maintenance is not cleaning. You have residents that you know are, and they loitering in the halls and leaving their mess. Doris, and then housing knows this. So that's what the cameras are for. So use your cameras and do something. Hold these people responsible. Like even like NYPD, hold these people responsible. So how do you expect residents to be encouraged or help with their neighborhood when you're not holding to your signs or rules that you made around in the neighborhood? And then they're being selective, Doris say, you know what I mean? And it's true. They're being selective with what people they want to give a hard time concerning pets and animals. If you have a rule, have the rule for everybody.
Exactly.
And just to say about people hanging outside, I brought this up earlier. They have nowhere to go, nothing to do. Yes, be clean, be discreet with what you're doing. People got to walk through, but everyone who's lived in a development, from young age to now or whatever, and Senator Sanders, you know we've been there. You were told to stay in front of the building and do not move. I mean, and that's just something that people are used to because they live there. Yeah. And you can't tell somebody that they're trespassing or they're doing the wrong thing from hanging out in front of the building. Mm. In Hamels, we have no benches, so we hanging out and holding on to the fences that they built out here. Like, come on, we grew up hanging out in front of the building. Now, as far as being cleanly, not blocking the way, cleaning up behind yourselves, yes. But you can't tell somebody that I don't think that it's fair for you to tell me, and I'm 51 years old, my son who's 13, my daughter who's 26.
You told me you were 21 years old.
That they cannot hang out in front of where they live. Now, don't block the door. Don't smoke weed and fog the hallway. Clean up your cans, your cups, your plate, your bag of chips and everything. But to tell me I shouldn't stand in front of my building, that's not, I don't think that NYPD or NYCHA have a right to do that to anybody where you've torn down the barrels, the monkey bars and the playgrounds where we used to play at. So if they, yes, be cleanly, don't provide an unsafe environment, but at the same time, if they outside, they're outside. So
well put.
NYCHA needs to get more responsible on the things that they would like for the residents, and the residents need to be more responsible. Don't pick and choose who you want to say something about. Say something about everybody. You have a neighbor that's leaving garbage in the hallway, say something. You can't control the outside if you're not controlling the inside.
Okay, let's hear Brian. Like yourself, I want to hear Mr. Honen's response and then the chair's response, and then we're gonna turn this on me. And and y'all should be thinking of ways that I can be more useful. Sister Belinda
Senator
already came up with one and said, but first let's hear Brian and let him respond. Mr.
Okay,
Honen.
Senator Sanders, I just want to say, can I just say one thing? The people that are hanging out on Beach 54th Street do not live there. The people that are hanging out in front of those buildings do not live there. They do not. I just want to say that.
Okay, well put, thank you. Mr. Honen, you've heard a mouthful. Now let's get a
Sure.
mouthful of answers.
Yep. I am not going to say that we don't have a communication issue. We have a communication issue between NYCHA residents that has existed for many years.
Now, slow down, sir. I wasn't clear on what you were saying.
Oh, sure. So I'm sorry.
That's all right. This new technology, we'll all get used to it.
Sure. So communication can always be better, and it should be better between NYCHA and NYCHA residents. It has been a problem for a long time. What I say all the time is, I professionally spend a lot of time in Albany and Washington and City Hall asking for money for residents, and we do need money to do a lot of things that we're talking about today. But respect is not something that costs money. For me to talk to you all about plans that we have, but it also has to trickle down and up. It has to trickle in both directions, and that so the staff on site needs to be in regular communication with the tenant leaders and also not only just the tenant leaders though too, because I see some developments where some people think, well, I talked to the tenant association president and I don't have to talk to anybody else. That is not acceptable. And Ms. McLaughlin, I'll make sure that we get a meeting for you and the manager as fast as possible. As for the blueprint, it is in its earliest stages, and we have been talking to residents. The chair has been talking to the CCOP and getting advice to them. Those are the 9 district presidents. We have addressed the RAB several times, which is a larger group of resident presidents. Some leaders, even on this call, have gotten individual briefings. And we do not have final legislation. And we are not even, we don't even have a formal plan right now. All the information that we are hearing, we are taking back. What Mr. Martinez said about losing some rights, and we heard that from resident leaders, including Mr. Martinez, and we took that information when we make sure that we're going to create, for the first time ever, a 964 that will be state mandated. So whatever, and it will be in legislation. We are going to make sure that we have a Section 3 program that will be state mandated, that will be in the legislation. And for the first time ever, all of your tenant rights that you currently enjoy, you will be able to look at state legislation and point to, this is where my succession rights come from. This is where my rights to the pets come from. And yes, I will, as I promised, we can set something up for the chair to talk to this group, to take your questions, to brief this group on the bill, and to take your input. This is not legislation that NYCHA alone, or the state legislature alone, or advocates alone, or residents alone will be able to pass. This is an idea that all of us together are going to have input on, and to come up with a final product that achieves the goals that I laid out earlier, to make sure that tenants maintain their rights, to make sure that the buildings are properly funded, and to make sure that they're managed correctly. Because every consolidation that I know about, I don't know anyone who's happy, who says, you know what, it works a lot better when my development has is managed, by one team with two developments, sort of the situation that you have at Beach 41st and Ocean Bay. In situations like that, you end up with losers for both developments, and so we need to make sure that we do a better job in all of these areas. The blueprint, and I'm not saying it is the only solution, but it is a solution. It does achieve these goals, and we need to work together to do it. We have been talking to residents since January, and we want to do it more. Just today, the chair held a town hall meeting that had close to 150 residents. Did the same thing on Wednesday night. Gave the presentation, took input, and we continue to go back and make changes to the idea based on the input that we're getting.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Were you finished? Don't want to cut you off. Okay, was there anyone else who wanted to speak to what Doris McLaughlin just spoke of? If not, I'd like to go into some of the questions that have been raised in the comments area. We have Mr. Greer Jr. He wants to know, are we going to have more regional enrichment centers with the upcoming school year for single parents that are first responders and essential workers?
This is the first time I'm ever hearing about that idea, but if Mr. Greer could send more information on an idea like that to the senator's office, I'd be happy to look at it, and we can maybe do something online, offline. Sounds like an interesting idea, but I hate to comment on something I'm not versed on.
I mean, it sounds like he's asking specifically a Department of Education question, something that, if I'm not mistaken, and that's something that the elected officials have been pushing for there to be more RECs throughout the districts, and the focus should possibly be, keep the schools closed for now because they don't know what they're doing. And for those first responders, the focus should be on making sure that those RECs are, everywhere and available for those particular parents. But that is the push. That is something that the elected officials have said to the mayor's administration as well as the chancellor.
Okay, we can definitely follow up from our office on that. Thank you, Madam Chair. Next question. Tiffany Hargrove wants to know, and we could definitely get this information out, when does all the tenant association meetings take place so people can get more involved? We can definitely.
Let me help them out by saying, give her my Facebook page. Why don't you put that in the chat? And all of the tenant associations, if y'all would be kind enough to, that otherwise we'll spend 10 minutes on y'all giving the dates and stuff. Why don't y'all let me know so that we could put it on Facebook? But Sister Davis wanted to speak. You got to unmute yourself.
No resident associations have been authorized to open back. So as far as anybody wanting to help or be a part, they can reach out to their resident associations and help volunteer or whatever. Eugenia, if I'm speaking correctly, right? Manny, if I'm speaking correctly. We haven't been allowed to open back no offices, but they do see services going on in their community, so they can walk up and ask questions and offer to help.
Well,
there's no meetings been authorized to open up. No resident watches have been authorized to open back up. None of that.
Well, Brian, was that you trying to say something? But I will say this. Why don't we do this virtually? I will work with all of your offices to make sure that I will host you if you wish, so y'all could do a virtual meeting with your tenant association. Y'all don't have to understand the technology. We will help y'all and help you understand it so that y'all could do it and we can grow back our members. Would you have a problem with that, Brian? Is there anything that will stop that from happening, Brian Honan?
No, there is not. In fact, many tenant associations are meeting virtually, and we
I see.
encourage it.
Okay, Miss Sister Davis.
Right. It's not
Okay.
that okay, summer we're usually closed anyway. So that's
Okay,
why most of the time we're just doing the food pantries or PPE distribution, stuff like that. So summer we're usually closed, but as far as COVID, we were not allowed to open to the
okay,
residents. Well, summer there's no meetings anyway, so that's what I'm just
okay.
trying to say.
Can I, can
When
I
we
encourage us
we know that we can
different?
offer a meeting for the residents.
Okay, can I encourage us that we are in such an unusual time, that this is a strange and different day that we live in. Consider, and you will find what's appropriate for you and y'all. Consider doing a meeting by virtual, even though it's summer. Consider, and we will be more than glad to host it for you or to help you do it. We don't care. We just want our bosses to be communicating. So consider, and if it works for you, we'll be glad to do whatever we can about it. If it doesn't, we don't mean to be stepping on no toes. We don't mean no harm. We just love just overflowing. Lisa, you had another question. Take 2 more questions, and then let's see if these people have anything for me.
Okay, I'm going to group the next couple of questions and comments regarding the trust plan and a blueprint. I'm going to read them. Before this plan is shared with any elected officials, tenants must be further educated on it and be allowed to make a decision on it. NYCHA should not be shopping this plan around legislatively before fulfilling the requirements surrounding tenant engagement. Furthermore, the plan requires significant lobbying at the state and federal levels. Why isn't NYCHA willing to do that to secure funding as a line item in the congressional budget?
So that's a really good question. So we have been talking to residents. At the same time, we've been talking to advocates. At the same time, we're talking to elected officials. This is going to be a joint effort. It is not just, one group's going to do it. Together, we're going to do it. And so we're trying to talk to everybody at the same time. As far as lobbying, I'm not allowed to use the word lobbying. I'm paid with federal dollars, but I'm a fairly good advocate. And I will be spending a lot of time in Albany. Senator Sanders could tell you that he sees me in the hallways of the Senate, and when I'm not in the Senate, he'll see me on the Assembly side, both in his office and talking to his colleagues. I think I'm going to be there. If you're meeting in person come January, I'll be there. So I'll have my long johns ready, and I'll be there on the first day, and won't leave until we get results on the last day. And I welcome residents and advocates and other elected officials who are not state officials to take a good look at this plan, and if you believe in it, join me in Albany, join me in Washington, and together let's find a way to get more funding.
Lisa.
A lot of these questions. The next one also relates to the blueprint. This is from Ramona Ferreira.
Now, Lisa, you got one question after this. Time is not our friend.
Is that our friend? So this is the last one. They're all relating to the same topic. How will the trust determine NYCHA's success as a property manager? If NYCHA does not change its performance,
okay,
can the trust take on a new property manager?
Well, so the way the trust is set up now, that we want to make sure that we continue to be a public-to-public transfer, that the agency set up continues to be a public agency with municipal workers in place. Now, the trust talks about, changing management and changing the way we do business. And it also talks about a more local management and making sure that staff on site have the ability to make real decisions in real time. The problem, I think, that when you talk to staff at Redfern houses, they will tell you that it takes forever for a decision to be made at 90 Church at 250 Broadway for them to get anything done. So the trust talks about a different way of management, but it brings in more resources, and it does give us flexibility in terms of doing things differently, and yes, using different vendors for different purposes in order to be more efficient.
All right. Now I'm going to allow my leaders to ask me if they have any way that I can be more effective. And I'll be biased and I'll start with Hamels. Since I started in Hamels, I might as well start with Hamels. And if you don't think of anything immediately, it's fine. You can pass. I ain't going nowhere, God willing. And you could come back, there'll be another moment, another day. We already said, Ms. Davis, that I need to come out there and spend a little time, break a little bread, and hear from people, and that's fine. Is there any other way that you think I can be more useful? Now, I might not want to hear you, but you got to unmute. I might not, maybe I'll be sad if I told you to unmute, but so be it. Go ahead, Ms. Lady.
Concerning the letter, and what we've been speaking about lately, just with Melissa G just now, and also education, and that's it. And just like trying to speak to NYCHA and tell them to step up and be more responsible for what's going on around here. In any development, period. That's it. Those are my 3 topics: education, the letter, the trust, and NYCHA being more responsible to the residents. That's it.
Well, I appreciate. Thank you. Anybody else want to take a shot at this one? Manny, I'd be shocked if you didn't. Go for it. Manny first, then Eugenia.
Okay. Firstly, I would like to say that the same way that they don't allow us to pay our rent and excuses, we shouldn't allow them to give us excuses for their lack of management. They need to stop lobbying, because actually, if you lobby with federal dollars, that's an issue. You need to stop lobbying and start working on how to make the federal obligations that you have right now work. Section 3 needs to be working. You're telling us, you're trying to sell us on a plan that that you're saying will be better on a state level when you can't do it on a federal level. Do it on a federal level and provide us the demonstration that you can do something else. Let's stop trying to shift responsibility and actually give us a distraction while you're trying to eliminate public housing in New York City. So do what it is that you need to do. Handle your responsibility. None of you are legislators and none of you should be lobbying, right? Handle what you're supposed to be doing. And then Senator Sanders, they miss you out here in South Jamaica, right? Yeah. They keep looking around. They're like, where's the senator? You know you love Far Rockaway, and I love Far Rockaway too. Miss you, brother.
I do.
Come on down.
I truly miss South Jamaica. It's got a flavor of its own, and we got to figure a way to be COVID safe and get back out there. I love speaking to people, as you know well, and I got to figure out how to do this.
What I will ask is this: we're doing a survey, as I said, in regards to the intercoms, and we are looking for funding for cameras for our basements in order to secure our basements from the makeshift shelters that happens that we're expecting to happen during this COVID in our basements, which is a highly dangerous situation, especially for our seniors. I invite you to partner with us in our pursuit for funding to get those cameras in and to find some strategic solutions for those basements. The residents would significantly appreciate your involvement. And I look forward to that. Thank you, Senator.
Well, I'm gonna see you and raise you. I'm going to I'm going to, when I come out there, I'm going to take it from there. I'm gonna see what you're talking about and what I can do to help with that. So Lisa, make sure that I hit South Jamaica houses also. They got some nice fish spots not far from there on, Guy Brewer. I'm no stranger, and my weight will tell you that. So, having said that, when we finish, we'll probably walk over there, Manny, and break some bread and argue until we start eating. Then there ain't no argument. but one step at a time. Eugenia, you wanted to get in here. Sister Gibson, are you still here? If you are, you're on mute. You're coming in badly. Ooh, boy. You coming in real bad, Sister Gibson. Sister, you being, man, Big Brother must be stopping you, because we're getting every fifth word. Sister, why don't you text Lisa? You're gonna have to text Lisa while I make a closing statement. You text Lisa, and I'll stop, and she can read what you say. I will say this. I heard a bunch of stuff, and I want to thank all of y'all for the stuff y'all stepped up and did with pantries. That was incredible, how we wanted to make sure that our neighbors were fed. All of y'all were showing up heroes, and really probably got no credit for it. I mean, some of us got the Muslim brothers in it. I mean, we got creative and did some stuff, and and y'all were kind enough. I tried some of the food, and I know that this was good food that we were giving out. So I'm very glad of that, and how y'all work with Lisa George and other folk to make sure that this was happening. Thank you for them pantries. In the days to come, let's do some more work over PPEs. I will come out there with some masks, with some sanitizer, and we will put out the word. Y'all bring your little bottles so that we can fill up. Y'all have your own sanitizer, and let's make sure that our neighbors are as safe as we can, because as y'all know well, nobody gives about these folk if we don't. And I'll say that in front of God and country. And this period showed that, I'll be kind, few people gave about these folk. Now I'll stick to that. I'm not moving from that. But we can care for each other. And so y'all need to work with the scheduler and schedule when we're gonna do some stuff. Can I encourage y'all to do it soon? We gotta get ready for this census. We really gotta get out there and get everybody as we can to tell them, look, man, this ain't no joke. This one is for real. This one, folk don't want your account. And man, everything from NYCHA to how many cops or lack of cops, how many firemen to social services, all of these things rides on the number. And if you're not part of that, then we are gonna get caught short. We also need to get them ready for voting. No, I'm not talking about voting for James Sanders Jr. He ain't running. I'm talking about voting for whoever. Now I gotta watch this one. Watch this, Brian. I'm gonna be clever. Whoever you want to vote for, who is in your interest. You need to vote for folk who give a damn whether you live or die, and you need to figure out who these people are And you can ask any of these tenant association presidents offline who they are. And if you catch me offline, I will absolutely tell you. I will say I was originally for Bernie, my cousin Bernie Sanders, but that's all right. He ain't running right now. So under those, yeah, you didn't know that was my cousin, Belinda? It's a big family. You should see the family reunion. Imagine the menu, chicken and what? So under those conditions, I encourage everybody get out there and vote. My next to last thought was consider tenant patrols. It may be time for us to do tenant patrols again. If we're having people in these buildings that ain't supposed to be in these buildings, then we may consider tenant patrols. You need to give thought to that, Mr. Honan. My last point is that years ago, Brian, we were about to do Habitat for Humanity, and we were about to do affordable housing and build some affordable housing where folk from the PJs would have the first crack at it. We still have that land that we were speaking about, and we need to bring back that conversation about bringing Habitat for Humanity if we're going to develop some housing for people. Now, this does not preclude, mind you, what anything else we do. This doesn't stop anything else we do. This means that we can have a combination of stuff. I want people to, at the end of it, whatever it is, I want people to own it. I want, whether it's a condo, let them own the condo. Whatever it is, let them own it, because people treat themselves and things better when they own it. And we should not go through our lives, everybody owning us and we don't own jack. We got to figure out how to own something here too. So I'm gonna speak to you in the days to come, Brother Brian, about resurrecting that idea of bringing Habitat for Humanity and building as many as we can in some of these spaces. Use a lottery, use whatever to see who gets the homes. But if we have some land, and we do, then we need to figure out how do we make sure that my neighbors, the folk who birthed me and raised me, the folk who put me in this office, I mean, I could just go on, how do they own this? Let me say, in terms of Section 3 has always been a real mess. The basic problem is it was written in a counterfeit way at the federal level. When they threw in those words, whenever possible, they really hurt Section 3. And we have been trying to get rid of those words at the state level to do basically, because the money's commingled. And if we could do it at the state level, then it will deal with that issue at other levels. Let me say this, my friend, my phone is always open for y'all, as you know it well. But I love you much. Thank you all for being here, especially for all of that. You ain't got to put me on the clock. I'm paying the bill. So under those reasons, thank you kindly for everything that we've done.
Councilwoman wants to
Take
speak.
care. Bye.
Thank you. God bless.
Sorry, that's right. Sorry.